Welcome, everyone, to our next episode of Saturday Tea Night. My name is Evelyn.
I'm Jamie. With At MWC, our mission is to inspire healthier family by empowering mom with education, resources, and support pre and post conception.
So, tonight we will discuss a very important topic. How do I heal from my emotional wound? As October is pregnancy and infant loss, also emotional awareness month. This is the way we feel like this is the best way to discuss these two topics so that we can gain more knowledge and be aware of them.
Maya Angelou once said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." President Reagan declared October as Infant and Pregnancy Awareness Month in 1988 to help break the silence and help those who have gone through this painful experience. Tonight, we have two members of from SIGSO with us. Patricia, she is a master social worker, and Womendi, a family therapist. They will share their knowledge with us tonight. Ladies, welcome, ladies.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, thank you for having us, Mama Wellness Club. We are always happy to collaborate together. Safe Soul is a mental health organization, and we know Mama Wellness is very much about the wellness of mom and families everywhere. So we're happy to be here.
Thank you so much. But first of all, lady, what is emotional wellness?
Um, for me, emotional wellness is your ability to cope, your ability to self-regulate, which means that in your life you have the ability to include self-care, anything that comes your way, like you're able or you have the resources to overcome that. So emotionally, you are well.
Okay, that's good.
So, when we talk about emotional wellness, especially like the topic is for people who had pregnancy or infant loss, how can we address emotional wellness to them? I know that it's a difficult experience for them going through. Some of them they don't know how to deal with that, and then we have a lot of culture that where people say that, oh, get over it, or you can get pregnant again, or it just the baby wasn't fully formed yet. So like how can someone who went through that or who's going through that, like how can we tell them about their well-being, how to deal with that?
I think there's a lot of factors that are involved in that because, first of all, any recovery is different based on the individual. So there's not one way for one to say, okay, well, I just lost an infant, or I was pregnant and I lost and I miscarried. There's no time frame. There's no right or wrong feeling once that happens. And there's a lot of reactions that may evoke, and one would have to first name and honor that I am in pain. Like this actually happened to me. This is the first step to recognize that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel like you're blaming yourself, you're feeling guilty about what happened, you are in disbelief. Um, and when those feelings evoke, it's okay for you to either say them out loud or use your journal or talk to people around you um, instead of avoiding what happened. Again, I know, Emily, you mentioned that in our culture, when people say get over it, or well, you were the one who tried before, you can try again. Um, it's not as easy as you can try again because I know in recent conversation with someone, she was saying that it depends on how that pregnancy started. If it's a pregnancy at the beginning of the pregnancy, you are like, oh, I wasn't looking for a child, I wasn't ready for this child, and then you lose this baby, you start blaming yourself
Mhm.
and start saying, what is it because I did not want this baby that happened? Or when you're thinking about trying again, it feels like you're replacing this baby who died.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process for you to be okay and ready, because emotionally, if you're not ready, you can't go through another pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's to understand it, like name it, understand that it's going on, and what am I going to do about it to get to a point where, one, if I want to try again, I'm ready to try again emotionally. Two, if I don't want to try again, I am going to work through that so I can get over it.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically saying it's important for that person to grieve that loss that they went through instead of just trying to get pregnant again.
Right. Allowing yourself to feel.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And I think if we should add that also, I think in terms of wellness and after an infant loss, we should also consider the family dynamic. Because I think sometimes it's not because the person is not ready to grieve, but then you have that pressure in the family, people not understanding that this is a death. Just because the baby was not born yet does not mean that this did not qualify as a death. It's like having a death in the family. So I need the same type of support that I would have if my child who was born already is dead, or a family member is dead. And I think in terms of like the cultural perspective, people need to see it that way so they can support the person and provide like an environment for the person to grieve, instead of just saying things, oh, you'll try again, even though we think they're supportive, they're not really supportive.
Yes, and also I
Mm-hmm.
was reading from a news online, and there's actually some stuff you're supposed to say to someone that's going through it, and some stuff you're not supposed. Like I personally, I feel like if someone go through it like me, I wouldn't even know what to say, and I would stay silent. And from the news, they say you're not supposed to stay silent because that person's gonna feel awkward. Like, why you not saying anything? Like I just told you, but at the end, you just don't want to say something to to hurt that person more than the way that it's the person is feeling. Do you have some thought about this, Mandy?
I think again it goes back to how close are you to the individual, and how well do you know this person, and what do you think this person needs from you at that time. And it's okay to ask the person, I know you're going through a tough time. What do you need from me? How can I be supportive? And allow this person to say, maybe I need some space. Maybe you can just call and check on me once a week. Allowing this person to make the choice and telling you how they want you to be supportive, instead of, oh my God, like I know it happened 3 months ago. Like, are you pregnant yet? Are you doing this? Like, are you guys trying? But allowing the person to be in charge of how they want to deal with what's going on. And you brought up a good point, Patricia, when you said it's a death. I think a lot of people say, oh, you were only 4 weeks pregnant. You were only 2 weeks pregnant. And it's like once you find out that you're pregnant, emotionally, you're already attached to that baby that you haven't even met yet. So it doesn't matter if you were pregnant for 8 months, 9 months, the baby came out stillbirth, or if it was 12 weeks. Once you lose a child, you lose a child. And how this person wants to deal with that, it's their business. Because I know people who were pregnant for 5, 6 weeks, and they feel like, I had a woman who I talked to, and she said, in my head, I was pregnant for 5 weeks and I lost the baby. I knew it was gonna be a girl. So she named her baby. And she had 2 children later. When people ask her, how many children do you have? She said, I have three. One is in heaven. That's
Mm,
her way of.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, it's like, okay, well, I was pregnant, I lost this child. This child is not, like, I'm not going to talk about this child. So it's
Mm-hmm.
for us to allow this person to feel like they are in charge of their life, and they are in charge of their own decisions. And we have to respect that.
Mm-hmm. And I think one another to add to that, woman, another important point is the partner of that person. Like if you married and or if you're living with a partner, so that partner was also invested in that pregnancy. So it's not just the person carrying the baby grieving, but the father of that baby is also grieving. And I think that plays the dynamic of the two people, the way that they handle that, and the way that they facilitate that healing and understand each other so they can move forward.
I
Right.
like what you say, Patricia. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, Mente, because the way you said it, I feel like 2 weeks ago we spoke about love languages.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has their own love language. I think that's why it's very important, like, to know what your partner needs you to do, what she's going through, something so difficult. Sometimes she doesn't want to talk about it. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Maybe she wants you to do something in the house for her to make her feel good. Maybe she wants you to just be close to her to feel like, so she can grieve with you, or like give her some affirmative word, like give her some gift, like bring her some little gift, and to make her feel. I think it's very important, like, because
Mm-hmm.
we all grieve like different way, like you say, women, like there's no right or wrong way to grieve. So me, I feel like it was me because I went through a grief, but it was like my mom passed. Like me, I was really close to myself. I wouldn't talk to no one. That was me. But that doesn't mean, and at the same time I feel like, okay, why that person is not giving me attention? Why I don't want to talk to no one? That's why I feel like it's very important to know your partner's love language to help that person feel good and heal.
And I
And
think also
given that space, yeah.
that. And I think also since we all grieve differently. If some people, that might happen to someone, they don't cry or they don't talk about it. That doesn't mean they don't hurt. And I think that people should understand that if that person don't show that they hurt by it, that doesn't mean that they didn't care about the baby that they just lost, or it's just like, oh, they don't think about it. So I think people should take step back sometime and then see or ask the person, how are you feeling emotionally? Like, do you need anything? If just because I don't show you doesn't mean that I will need an attention, or I will need support. I will need.
Mm-hmm.
So I think other people should take that in consideration. So don't try to judge somebody, instead approach that person so you can get to know, like, what do they need.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And I think culturally and based on the gender, grieving looks differently too. For a lot of people, the men in the family don't really show any emotions, quote unquote, because they feel like they have to be strong for their partners.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that they're not hurting, as you say, Emily. It doesn't mean that they're not hurting. It means that, again, it goes back to communication, communication, communication. Like, communicate to your partner to find out that, okay, I'm grieving, I'm handling this way. How are you handling this? Rather than being upset that, how is it that I'm over here, I can't get out of bed, and then you're over here going about your business like we didn't just lose the child. And sometimes when there are children involved in the family, children grieve differently as well. If
Mm-hmm.
based on how young or how old the child is, once the parent gets pregnant, the children get invested in the pregnancy as well.
Yeah.
So it's not something that is going on just for the mother, it's going on for the whole family. And again, going back to the emotional wellness, if one person is not well emotionally, the whole family is unbalanced. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why it makes sense for everyone to communicate to find out how they're going to get through that as a family so that they can be there for each other.
Yeah. Now that you say that, I was thinking about something huge. Lovey, I know you were gonna say something before I forget. So there is also the cultural piece where we don't place any importance on emotional wellness, period. So now I know in the Haitian culture, you go to a funeral, you scream, you have other people come and help you scream, and then after that everybody go home, and you wear black for however long. So that's how we it's like an external grieving process. But when it comes to emotion, mostly in the Haitian family, nobody wants to show emotion. It's like your mom is telling you, be a man, or your mom is telling you, mete fam sou, like things like that, or just can be called so gen la. So it's not. There is no room in our cultural environment to show emotion. So now we're talking about like another layer where you're grieving and you want to show that emotion and you want to communicate about it. I think the first step would be to break those barriers. Like, we are human. Yes, we're Haitian. Yes, we're strong. We Caribbean, we're resilient, but we all have emotions. If we're not expressing them, we taking those frustrations somewhere else, probably on our children and things like that. So it's also realizing that even though we didn't raise in a family where people show emotions, the only way to be healthy is to leave that behind. Like, you are strong, be a strong woman. What does that even mean? Yeah.
Yeah, strong women feel pain, you know, and we have to show it when we're going through something. Just because
Hmm.
claim that you're strong doesn't mean you're not in pain. And when Mandy mentioned that the whole family is grieving. So one question I have, how old do you think? Let's say that I went through that myself, and I have young children. They knew that I was expecting a child. Then how do you think it's too young for me to, like, is they too young for me to tell them that I lost the baby? Like, how do you think I should approach that subject to them so that they don't feel hurt and I don't make them feel like losing the baby it's like my fault, or is like, how can I approach them to let them know that?
I think again it goes back to, so I was reading a research that they did on that, like grieving across the lifespan, and they were saying that babies from 0 to 3 don't really understand what's going on. However, I've met some really mature 3-year olds. So it depends on how you know your child best.
Okay.
So you have to really look at your child and be like, how can I break that down into a child's language to her or to him? Because they notice things, especially if you were already showing. So
Hmm.
sit down and be like, okay, well, we were talking about you having a little brother or a little sister. Well, that's not going to happen, and this is the reason why it's not going to happen. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't daddy's fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. But sometimes those things happen, and allow the child to process that. And sometimes you may talk to like a 5, 6 year old, and they're like, okay, and they go about their business and they go play, but they may come back later and ask question, or they may go and play, and then you let that go, and after 2 3 days you go back and be like, oh, remember that conversation we had the other day? I noticed you didn't say anything. Do you want to talk about it? Do you have any questions? Like making sure that the child doesn't feel like she's left out in the
Hmm.
family. Going back to the culture, like in the Haitian culture, it's like, well, mom and dad, like that has nothing to do with you. Like you're a child. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter if you are 10 or up, like you're a child. Like we don't have to talk to you about this. Like you just notice there's some changes. You just notice there's something that was supposed to happen that is not going to happen anymore. But there's no sitting down and have that conversation. So again, it goes back to how much do you think your child would understand, and what language do you think you can use to make your child understand? And sometimes it may be helpful to pull somebody else into the conversation, having a professional breaking it down to the child instead of you having that conversation with the child.
Hmm.
Actually, I agree with you, Mandy, because I was watching a show. I don't remember the name of that show, and that lady she went through a pregnancy loss, and turns out the older son he started acting up at school, and they didn't know what's going on. And when they sat down with him, he expressed his feeling and said, "I'm mad because I was going to have a sister, and now I'm not going to have a sister anymore." So
Hmm.
sometimes they would say okay and go about their business, and then but deep down they feeling something and they don't know, and they would start acting up at school or somewhere else, not at home, but somewhere else. Just maybe they feel like mom is hurting. They don't know how to make mommy happy, and they put it on the other kids.
They don't have the words to express themselves sometimes because they
Hmm.
don't understand. I was working with a family, and there was a little boy who was 4 years old, and he would go to school and he would hide under the chair,
Mm.
like almost every day he was doing that. And they kept calling mom like, this is new, I don't know what's going on, this is new, has anything changed at home? And mom was like, we lost a baby. Like, mom was like trying to think what happened recently. And she was like, nothing happened recently. And they like, has anything happened in the past 3 to 6 months? And she's like, yeah, we lost a baby, but that was like a year ago. But he remembered it was around that time that he lost his sister. So it was going to be the death anniversary. And it happened when he was 3. So now he's turning 4 and he's showing those emotions, and they had to take him to therapy. So it's like sometimes you're talking to toddlers, you're talking to those young children. They may seem like they don't understand, but they have feelings inside that are stirring inside, but they don't know how to explain it or how to say, I'm feeling this, I want to talk about this, and then it start coming out in terms of behavior, like Jenny said.
Yeah. And I like that we are adding the children piece, because also I think there is that tendency to forget that you have a child who actually needs you when you just lost one. It's also, you follow in their behavior and make sure that they're okay, and not just get lost into your own grief, because you have a child who needs your support, who needs everything that you used to give. It might be hard, but sometimes I think we see cases where mom is grieving, mom is so sad, mom is so depressed that they forget that they have other children who need their support at that moment. It may sometimes you might have to pull another family member to come and help you to get through this, because when you forget these children, then they feel like, oh, so that was the only baby that you cared about, and they feel isolated. They feel like they were not as important, and they have a hard time understanding that.
Yes, you made a good point, because I personally know a family member that went through that themselves, but she didn't have the experience to grieve. She didn't have the opportunity to grieve that loss that she had. And unfortunately, she had other 2 children, but she ended up, that affected her so bad where she had to go to a mental hospital. And those other 2 children that she had, she lose them because she cannot take care of them. So yeah, so that's why you mentioned that the mother needs to understand. I feel like if you allow yourself to grieve when you have other children, you would take care of yourself, and you will be able to take care of the other children you have, instead of making it so focused on the loss that you just because that can affect not just you, the whole family.
Yeah.
Your children, your spouse, and other family member that have to end up taking care of the children not that you had. So grieving, I feel like, is very important, even though like the child wasn't born yet, or the baby was that small. And it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to let yourself grieve that part. So that you can. It's not like you're gonna forget the baby, but you would move on. You would allow yourself to get better, and then go.
I agree with you. And also, I know there's one thing, we women, when we go through this, we try to blame ourselves. I should have done this. Why I didn't do this instead? Why? Maybe it's maybe because I jumped 3 times and this happened. Maybe so I called my cousin. She's a doctor. Her name is Jessica. So I call her. I'm like, medically, like, what might be the risk, or of going through this, especially like pregnancy loss. And she actually told me about the risk factors, such as like maternal age, diabetes, um, some disease like sexually transmitted disease, obesity, thyroid disease. But at the same time, she says sometimes you cannot prevent it. You can minimize it by minimize the risk factor. You can, but at the same time, there's nothing you can really. It just happen. So I just feel like we as women, we should really be aware of it. It's just happened, and we just have to breathe. That's what we can do.
Right. And I think it's easier said than done.
I know.
We're talking about, oh, it's not your fault. When you're in the midst of it, you tend to blame yourself first. And one thing to add to what you say, when you say you can prevent it, sometimes your body just rejects the pregnancy, which is totally fine. But it's, again, your doctor is saying it's nothing you did. Your body just rejected the baby. And you keep blaming yourself. It's like,
Exactly.
oh,
Yeah.
maybe the doctor's just being nice. Maybe it's because I wore heels. Maybe it's because I ate this food that I wasn't supposed to eat. And those are stages when you're grieving, but it becomes a problem when you're stuck in one of those stages, like you're stuck in the self-blaming. And that's when you reach out to the resources that are around you, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
natural support, whether that is professional support. But it's okay to go through those stages.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, grieving can last a long time. I don't think there's a time to ending for grieving, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to share my experience. I had a loss. I didn't know I was pregnant. But then the first thing that I blame myself with, because that night, me and my husband, we went on a date. I had a few glass of wine, and I was wearing heels. And when I didn't know I was pregnant, it's because I was bleeding a lot. And when I went to the hospital, and that's what they told me, I had a ectopic pregnancy. So then I keep blaming myself that, what if I didn't have a few glass of wine? What if I didn't wear heels? Like, what if I, just like you mentioned, what if I didn't eat the food that I ate? Maybe I wouldn't have lost that baby. Or even now, like I have three girls. Sometimes I think maybe that baby could have been a boy, because
But thank you for sharing that, Lovey.
Yeah.
Breathe and take space.
And it's so you see, like I like the fact that you cry, but it's okay to cry. It's okay
Mm-hmm.
to express your feeling. And I know, and thank you again, like Patricia said, you sharing this because I know it's a painful memory that you're willing to bring in public, and we appreciate
Mm-hmm.
it, and we love you, and we're here to support you in all the
Yes.
ways.
I'm giving you a virtual hug right now.
Virtual hug.
I receive it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's why, even though that happened years ago before my first child, that still come to my mind sometime, and emotionally it hurt. But then I'm thankful that I have three other kids, because I know there are other people who don't have that blessing or that opportunity to get pregnant again, and I know
Mm-hmm.
that it's hard for them. But then that doesn't mean that I'm not still hurt, or I'm not still going through. I'm not. I mean, I don't think about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you see what just happened here. And this is a good example on how you support somebody. And we have been friend, even though we create this platform, we say thank you, we say we love you, we give you a hug, but we don't give you advice on, oh, this is what you should do, this is the next step, oh, thank God you have three girls. That should come from the person. I took a grieving class. They said, like, some the worst thing that you tell somebody who just lost someone is just that, oh, thank God you have three other people, or thank God you have children, or saying that I know exactly how you feel. No, you don't. Sometimes it's coming from like a good
Right.
place, and we are saying them with good intention, but they're not necessarily right. Like, even if I went through the same experience that you went through, Evely, I would never know how you feel. It's just a lie to say that I know exactly how you feel. What you can say is just like, thank you for sharing. I love you, and we support you, and I'm here whenever you want to talk. And that's how we're supposed to support our sisters and other women when they share their experience with us. And I'm so grateful that you guys are creating a space so we can share, and hopefully other people will find their own sisterhood, their own circle, and then share these experiences, because when you let it out, this is when the healing begins.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Right.
saying after what you say, Patricia, but and it's if you don't want to talk to somebody, it's okay. Maybe find another way you can grieve, like connect yourself with people that went through the same experience. This movie you might connect with, songs you might be connect with, but just allow yourself your brain, I mean your mind and your body to heal. I think that's what I think.
Yeah, and different things work for different people. Like whether that means that you're journaling or you're practicing self care, but it's okay to have days where you're like, I'm not okay today. It's okay to have those days. And again, going back to what Patricia said, as far as, oh, I can understand what you're going through. We may have gone through the same experience, but we deal with things differently. I may have been able to overcome that in a minute, and it may take you 10 years to overcome that. That doesn't mean that I'm stronger than you or you're stronger than me. It means that we're just different people who's going through the same experience, but have different ways to go through that. Um,
Mhm.
and thank you again for creating this space, because those are conversations that need to be happening in our community. Those are things that a lot of people are going through, but some people don't want to talk about it. Some people don't know how
Mhm.
to talk about it. And some people don't know how to respond when someone comes to them and say, well, that happened to me. And they're like, I'm stuck. What do I say now?
Mhm.
So creating the space to have those kind of conversation, it's needed and it's helpful.
Yeah, and I know we are ended, but I want to add like some like very public examples that we had. We had like Gabrielle Union who came out and I think about like a couple of years ago and admit and shared with with the world that she had like 12 miscarriages and she was dealing with that. And she shared out when she's ready, so there is no need to share it when it happens. It might take you a few years. Nobody knew. And I follow her on social media and she's always on, but we never knew that. And we had also, what's her name? Legend's wife
Chrissy,
also, Christy, who just went through that same experience. And I think I like when people are strong enough, like women, when they're strong enough, because as women we are expected to keep up an image and be a lady and be proper. But I like when women and like Evely loves tonight come out and share those experiences and then help other mothers who are just suffering in secret.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, ladies. It's 8:37 now. So I would like to know if someone have any comment. It's time to comment, and if you have any question, you might ask maybe for 2 minutes or so. But meanwhile, I would like to say, guys, like each year at 7 p.m. on October 15th, the International Wave of Light occurs. It invites baby lost families, loved ones, friends, and supporting organizations who form world the one to join in remembrance of all the loved one for the babies. And you can join the Facebook page and connect with other family. Just support each other. I think that is very important. Support will make us recover. It might be slowly, it might be fast, but it will help you recover. Um, Coming to this Women's Day, would you like to share maybe like some criteria, like how can someone know that they overcoming the grief? Like what are the characteristics that might happen?
I think again it goes it's individual. It's individual for the person. Like and it's okay if you don't totally overcome it too. Overcoming it doesn't mean that I forget about this child that I carried, or I forgot about this pregnancy that I had. But you can for some people they say that they can see that they're healing because they can talk about it. They so I want to say in general, the way that you know that you overcome something is when you feel like there has been a change from how you were when it first happened to how you are now. Whether that means that, oh, I was blaming myself and now I'm like, no, there was nothing that I could do to prevent that from happening. That means that you're overcoming it. Whether that means that, oh my God, I was dealing with that in a way where I couldn't even get out of bed. Now I can go back to my daily activities. Like you are seeing progress on how you were when it happened and how you are now.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, ladies. Thank you so much, Safe Soul, for joining us tonight. And any ladies who's watching, please join our group on Facebook. This is where we connect with other moms. We share um, um, personal experience. This is where we being real. So join the group on Facebook. Follow Instagram at Mama's Wellness Club. Like our Facebook page and remember to subscribe on YouTube. We'll see
And
you.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
We will see you all in 2 weeks for the next event because we have more exciting news coming up.
And also, we want to say big thank you for all our supporters. We have Jessica, we have Danielle, we have Romy, we have B Design Art. Thank you so much. And if I didn't say your name, please don't get offended. Next time we will say more, but thank you so much to Patricia, and she's both member of Mama's Wellness and Safe Soul. Also, she's Safe Soul president, I believe, and founder, and she's also a good friend of us. And I also want to say, guys, we have so much more coming up. We have more surprises coming up. Stay tuned for more topic, for cool topic. And again, this is sisterhood. Let's support each other. Let's provide tape, resources, and all of this, and get connected.
Have a good
Have a
night.
good night.
Ladies, good night.
Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.